and welcome in to the National Championship Preview. Only two teams remain in college football, and we're going to break down the matchup between Indiana and Miami and take a look at some key players. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you can be notified when our newest videos are coming out. With football season ending, we've got plenty more coming up with winter and spring sports around the corner, and you don't want to miss out. And if you stick around to the end of today's episode, we'll also show you how you can get involved with winter and spring sports coming just around the corner, or with any of your football cards as well if you're still opening football boxes. With that all said, let's begin by taking a look at what's in the National Championship box.
What's in the box?
Our National Championship Preview box features our locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for Indiana as they get set to take on Miami Monday night in the National Championship game from Florida. We'll take a look at some key players who might make an impact for Indiana if they are to win this game and complete their undefeated season. And lastly, we'll look at the moves that have been made in the transfer portal as we keep up with a flurry of news and moves for all of our ONIT teams. Let's begin by taking a look at the matchup between the number 1 Hoosiers and the number 10 Hurricanes. This is it. This is what you play for. This is what it comes down to. Monday night, Miami Gardens, Hard Rock Stadium, 7:30 Eastern Time. It is the number 1 Indiana Hoosiers, 15-0, undefeated this year, up against the number 10 Miami Hurricanes, who everyone thought was a long shot to make it. Some weren't even sure if they would make the playoff after not getting to the ACC championship game. Instead, here they are playing for a national championship, and Miami is doing it in their own backyard. This is two teams that love to play defense. We're talking about some of the best defenses in the country. Miami is number 1 on the year in sacks. Indiana's right behind them at number 2. Indiana's number 2 in the country in terms of points allowed per game. Miami's right behind them at number 5. In terms of total yards, Indiana is 4th in the country in terms of yards giving up. We are looking at top 5 defenses, top 1, top 2 defenses by some metrics. And so the defenses are going to be paramount for both of these teams. And what that really comes down to is line play on both the defensive and the offensive lines. Indiana has one of, if not the best, offensive lines in the country. They managed to create holes in the run game. They're averaging averaging over 200 yards on the ground per game. A lot of that has to do with the amazing backs of Kalon Black and Roman Hemby, but you have to give a lot of credit to the offensive line as well. They move people out of the way. They open up holes. Miami is not necessarily known for their run defense, so that could be an area where Indiana exploits the Hurricanes in this game. But what Miami is known for is their pass rush. And that question of whether or not Miami can force Indiana into certain passing downs and let their All-American Ruben Bain Jr. try to get after Fernando Mendoza will certainly be a key factor in this game. One of the things for Indiana, though, that will help them is the fact that they don't get penalized much. You've seen that in both of their playoff games against Alabama and Oregon. You rarely see flags come out against them. Heck, you can even go back to the Big Ten championship against Ohio State. There was barely a flag thrown throughout that entire game. Indiana doesn't make mistakes that gets them in to long first down or second down situations where they are then forced to throw the ball on third down, which could help them immensely to try to limit what Miami can do on the D-line in terms of trying to get after the quarterback Mendoza, especially with Mendoza's ability to scramble and the way he uses his legs when pressure does sometimes come. But usually the ball's out so quick from Mendoza that it doesn't really matter. On the other side, Miami has potentially maybe the best offensive tackle in the country in Mauioga. Can he try to stymie this D-line and the pressure that Indiana's been able to bring all season? Mark Fletcher Jr. has been incredible in the backfield throughout this whole run for Miami, and Carson Beck has played really well. Going back to his time at Georgia, there was a stretch there a year ago or 2 years ago where he was just really locked in and was making all the throws, and Georgia looked like a national championship contender, and things started to waver for Beck. Beck is really back to that point, and he has a lot of experience in games like these. That experience played a big part in helping him lead Miami down the field against Ole Miss, and it could help him in this game against Indiana, because although they do have one of the best defenses in the country, Carson Beck has seen a lot of things. He's been in school for a long time. He's been a starting quarterback for a long time. And so if he can make the right reads, get the ball out quickly. You saw in the Ole Miss game, he was sometimes making third or even fourth reads and delivering the ball on target, on time, with accuracy. If he can do that, Indiana could struggle, but they do have one of the best pass defenses in the country, and so Beck probably won't have the same type of windows that he had against Ole Miss that he may have here against Indiana. So all of that will play a huge factor in this game. I think it's really going to come down to who turns the ball over least out of Mendoza and Beck. I do really think that that is going to be the X factor in this game. 1 or 2 interceptions might be enough for one team to get the upper hand. I'm going to say that Indiana wins this game, though. The way they've played all year, how well coached they are, like I mentioned, the lack of penalties, the turnover margin that they do have, even when Mendoza does throw an interception in a game, which he has been prone to do, he rarely throws 2, he rarely turns the ball over twice, and then Indiana usually takes the ball away 2 or more times from their opposition. So I think the Indiana defense makes a huge difference. Mendoza, who has been firing on all cylinders in the playoff, I think he stays ultra consistent like he has been. He's been very efficient throwing the ball. I think all of that comes true for Indiana once again, and I think they escape Miami with this win and their first national championship. We'll see how it plays out, and you can let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree. But let's take a look at some of these Indiana players that we mentioned that could be the reason why Indiana wins their first national title. This is Slab Watch. We're taking a look at the Indiana Hoosiers that might help them win a national championship against Miami on Monday night. I know you've heard Fernando Mendoza's name so many times. You've heard about the D-line. You've heard about all of these players for Indiana. So we're going to go a little bit deeper here today, and we're going to take a look at some maybe unsung heroes for Indiana that might make the difference in this game. We'll start on the defensive side because we love NIL for all here at ONIT. We're going to talk about the linebacker Aiden Fisher. I know he's been talked about quite a bit, but he doesn't necessarily get the same love that the defensive line or the secondary for Indiana does, and I think that he is a crucial part of this defense. He's second on the team in tackles coming into the game with 91 on the year. He's a part not only of their run stopping, but also he plays off-ball linebacker in the pass game as well. He gets some sacks. He has 2 interceptions. He just is all over the place for Indiana. When you think of a true do-it-all linebacker, his is the first name that comes to mind for the Hoosiers. Of course, the guy like Arvell Reese, another off-ball linebacker at Ohio State University. I would consider Fisher and Reese probably 2 of the best in the country at the position, and both of them have proved it this year. So I think that Fisher's play is going to make a huge difference when you're talking about confusing Carson Beck or slowing down Mark Fletcher Jr. Fisher's going to have a role in both of those, so his play is going to be very important to Indiana on whether or not they win or lose this game, in my opinion, which is why I've put him on Slab Watch. And then on the offensive side for Slab Watch, we're talking about the running back, Kaylon Black. Indiana cycles through both of their running backs in Roman Hemby and Kaylon Black, but Black is more of the change of pace running back, if you could call him that. He has less carries on the season than Hemby, but he averages more yards per carry, and he has more touchdowns. He's kind of that burst, while Hemby is the bruiser. Hemby does have 5 yards per carry this season. He's played very well too, but they just play a little bit different styles, and Black is the guy that can come in and sometimes pop a long one for Indiana when they need it. So Kaylon Black's play is going to be very important in this game. Hemby is also going to be important too, don't get me wrong, but I just think that Kalon Black, as a guy who isn't the lead back for this team, still could make a huge impact as, again, a difference maker or somebody who just gives a different look to this Miami front seven when they are trying to run the football. So that, for that reason, I've got Kalon Black on Slab Watch for this week. Who do you think is going to be the most impactful player for the Hoosiers in this game? Let me know down below. Or if you're a Miami fan, tell us why you think the Hurricanes might have the most impactful players in this game. And now let's take a look at the college football transfer portal, because some ONIT schools have been doing work. Tons of signings to talk about. Here's a look at some of the players that ONIT teams have signed in the portal so far during the off season. Couple of huge names on this list. You look at Josh Hoover, TCU to Indiana to replace Fernando Mendoza, who in all likelihood is going to be the #1 pick in the NFL draft. Then the Sam Levitt news dropping this week that he is apparently going to LSU. The Tigers won the battle against Tennessee, who apparently were trying very hard to get Mr. Levitt to come play for them in Knoxville. So Sam Levitt going to LSU, that is a huge deal for LSU at the quarterback position to replace Garrett Nussmeier and Michael Van Buren, who they used both of this season. And then another name on here that we haven't talked about is Chaz Coleman going to Tennessee. For all accounts, he is a defensive edge that has the potential to be an absolute game wrecker and a top pick in the NFL draft. He was at Penn State, transferred to Tennessee. Both of those teams have put elite edge rushers into the NFL in recent years, so really can't blame him for picking either school. He committed to Penn State out of high school, decided after his freshman season that he wants to go try out Tennessee. So we'll see how it goes for him, but he should be on the field and potentially be a huge impact player for Tennessee next year. And then you got a couple of other pickups as well. A guy like John Henry Daly going from the University of Utah to the University of Michigan following his head coach Kyle Whittingham. And then Jacarius Peak is going from North Carolina State to South Carolina. He's an offensive tackle, one of the highest graded offensive tackles in this portal cycle. So that should be a big help to Lenoris Sellers at South Carolina, who's already said he's coming back to school. Some of these moves are definitely going to have a huge impact on how teams perform next year. And of course, some of these guys might not pan out the way that we think that they will. But my estimate is that these guys are going to make a big impact for their new teams next year. Let me know who you think is the biggest move down below, and we'll see how it comes true in 2026. But we've got the National Championship on Monday night. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoy the game between Indiana and Miami. We're hoping for a good one here at ONIT. If Indiana wins, be on the lookout for a super special release that'll be coming right after the game ends. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you want to submit your ONIT polls into our link down below, we'll share your cards off with the community as the football season comes to an end. We can still talk football here on the channel. We'll have a recap video of the national championship coming out after the game on Tuesday. So lots of things to keep your eyes peeled for. Appreciate you watching the video, and we'll be into basketball season here before you know it. Basketball coverage will be coming up when football comes to an end. So stick around, subscribe if you want to see some basketball coverage here at ONIT. We'll also keep you up to date with everything going on in the transfer portal for our ONIT schools. Hope you have a great rest of your day, everybody. Once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you after the national championship.